Hello everybody, welcome back to another Teacher Talk Tuesday. In today's video, as you can tell by the title, I'm going to be talking all about how to nail your Skype or Zoom video interview, and this is coming from a teacher standpoint, but obviously this applies to anybody who's having an interview that is via a laptop screen. And with the current situation, with the current pandemic, I'm guessing that that's the way a lot of interviews will be conducted now. Personally, I've had a lot of experience with phone interviews and with Skype interviews. And obviously, I do find phone interviews a lot easier because you're only really focusing on the person's voice, what they're saying, and what you need to say back to them. But the reality is, especially if you're looking for a job overseas, the employer that you have, either be that the head teacher, SLT, or the HR department of the school, they're going to want to know what you look like, the way you appear, and get an idea of how you look. So the first tip is, with that in mind, make sure that you dress the part. Make sure that you have your hair done, your hijab is looking neat and tidy. Make sure you are wearing smart clothes at least from the top, and if not, if you can be bothered, which you probably should, try and put a pair of trousers on as well, just in case you have to get up for whatever reason and they see that you're wearing pajama bottoms. It wouldn't be the end of the world, but you do want them to know that you're serious about this and that you really would like this job. So definitely dress the part, look the part, act as if it's a real interview. And even if that means you're going to have to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to look fresh and ready and have your makeup done and everything, that's what you're going to have to do. And that's what I had to do last year when I was working full time as well, for some of these interviews because of the time difference. It's really important to look as you would look for a regular interview or a regular school day, so you don't look like you just rolled out of bed, so you look like you care, so you look like you really want this job. And with that in mind as well, so not only do you need to look the part, but you need to make sure that you are technologically prepared. So you should know in advance what platform they are going to be conducting the interview on, and most of the time you will be able to have a mock interview situation with that platform. So for example, on Skype, you can go and even just click test video call and you can see how clear your screen looks. You can test your audio, test your microphone. If you've got a headset with a mic, that's amazing. If you haven't, just make sure that the laptop that you're using is able to pick up the sound properly, and also make sure that your laptop is positioned in a way where you are not looking down like this at the interviewer, where you're almost at eye level. So even if you have to get a stack of books and put it on top of there, as long as you're not craning or reaching down or even looking up like this, you don't want to be looking like that. You want to just be able to look straight ahead of you and focus on the interviewer and the questions. You don't want to be worrying about these little things, these little issues whilst you're in the middle of an interview. Make sure that you have got your technological side set up, and third of all, make sure that your background is appropriate. So that means that you could have a background like this. Obviously this is more of a filming setup, studio sort of look that I've got going on, but if I was doing a video interview, I would tilt my camera and my laptop this way so you could just see the wall, and maybe I would move the plant. It might be a bit distracting, I don't know. And then I'd also make sure that my lighting is clear. Now obviously I know a lot of you guys are not YouTubers, so you wouldn't have like studio lighting like this, but make sure that you either are in front of a window if it's during the day and you've got enough lighting where they can see your face, because that's really important, or make sure that you've got a lamp or something illuminating you and making you visible for the interviewer to see, because the last thing they want is to get into the interview, start trying to ask questions and not be able to see or hear you properly. That's going to be very frustrating for them, and it's going to be a big waste of time and a bad impression for yourself. So my fourth tip is definitely practice and prepare as if it's a real interview. Just because it's across the screen, just because your interviewer is sitting hundreds of miles away, does not mean that they're not going to be asking you questions that you would in a real interview, and that does not mean that you don't need to be prepared. So this is where the internet becomes your best friend. You can literally Google most commonly asked teacher interview questions and write them down and prepare answers for them, and write your answers down and then practice saying them as well, so it doesn't look like you're just reading off a book. The nice thing about a Skype interview is you can have your notes in front of you and it's not going to look like really obvious as if it would in a real interview. Obviously in a real interview you can't walk in with all these notes and be looking through, but in a Skype interview you are totally welcome to have your notes spread out in front of you. But what's not a good idea is to work hard, make all of these notes and then just leave them in front of you as a way of answering the questions without practicing. So this is where you get your friends who are also on Skype at this point, or maybe your family involved, and you get them to ask you some questions, and you really need to practice speaking in a way that's appropriate for an interview. So sometimes I notice that I speak very fast, and for an interview you want to be speaking clearly. You want to make sure that your voice is at the right level. You want to make sure you're answering the question correctly as well, because when we're put in under a high pressure, stressful situation, sometimes we can just ramble about the most irrelevant thing, and that is not good. They're gonna just note down, and they will be taking notes, but they're gonna note down for you, doesn't really know what she's talking about, didn't really seem to understand what the question was. And like lots of question marks, and you don't want that. You want to come across as confident as possible, obviously not being overconfident, but making sure that you know what you're talking about. And in this area I would always recommend having a few anecdotes written down or noted down that you can share. So for example, they probably will ask you questions about interacting with parents and any experiences you've got with that. So have a think back to your own experience, whether that's in training, whether that's in your NQT or afterwards. What good examples can you use to back up that you have experience with this, or show that there's been a problem with a parent that you managed to resolve properly? In the same way, they probably will ask you about professional development. What professional development have you taken post training? So have a think about what you've actually done. The worst thing is when you've been asked a question and you're just sat there like a rabbit in headlights and you have no idea how to answer. Definitely practice, and definitely take the time between now and your interview date to prepare yourself, whether that's half an hour a day, an hour a day. It's so much better to be prepared, trust me, because I've had this experience where one of my first interviews I felt like I was umming and ahhing a lot, and I managed to, I would say, wing it for the first one, but afterwards I really thought to myself like that wasn't my best interview experience, and I definitely could do a lot better than that, and I didn't do myself justice, so I don't want to put myself at a disservice, and I want to show myself off at my best. So that's definitely important to practice and prepare and use the time that you have now to do that for sure. Okay, the next thing that I want to talk about is the fact that it can be very, very awkward to be doing an interview where you can obviously see the interviewer screen, but you can also see in a little box your own face. And sometimes it's very easy to get distracted by that and to start looking at yourself rather than at the interviewer. And they're going to pick that up straight away. They're going to see that you're not actually really focusing on them. So something I've learned to do with experience is, first of all, obviously I set up my laptop, set up my webcam, make sure everything's working fine, and then when I'm happy with everything and I'm happy with the angle, I'm happy with the background, I'm happy with the audio, all the rest of that. So by the way, I do set up at least 20 minutes beforehand, if not earlier, because I want to make sure if there's any technical issues, I can sort them out right there and then before the interviews do start. Once everything's good and I'm ready to go, I take the little box that has my face on it, if I can, and I move it right down to the corner, and I prop a little piece of paper up in front of it so that I don't need to get distracted by my own appearance. I don't need to maybe catch myself making a funny face and then spend the rest of the interview worrying that that face has put the interviewer off. These are things that you don't have to face when you're having a face-to-face interview, because you can't see yourself. So yes, you can hear yourself, but you can't see how you're looking, you can't see your body language. And I'm somebody, as you can tell, and naturally as a teacher does, I talk with my hands, I use my hands to be expressive, and sometimes that can throw me off when I notice I'm doing that in an interview. Definitely just try and eliminate that distraction of yourself, and if you can't move your box, then maybe get like 3 sticky notes that are together and just stick it in front. Like, give yourself the best chance possible by doing that, I would say. And the last thing I will say at this point is try as much as you can. I know it's a weird situation, it's a different situation, but try as much as you can to pause, to smile, to make eye contact, to give them a chance as well to like hear what you're saying, because sometimes there can be audio delays, it can be lagging, there can be technical difficulties. So try to just relax once you're in it, once you've started the interview, because ultimately they want to see if you are the teacher they're looking for to hire into their school. They want to see if you have got the capabilities to teach in their school, if you're a good match and a good fit. So if you are just frozen and robotic and like staring at the screen, that's not going to give the best impression of yourself. Just try and be yourself, try and be relaxed. And that's where the beauty of practicing comes in, because the more you practice, the more you literally, even if you don't want to do it in front of other people, stick a mirror up behind the laptop and like imagine the interviewers ask a question and then speak it back. The more you say a question, the easier it will roll off your tongue when the actual interview, and the more sure of yourself you'll feel, the more confident you'll sound, and the better it will be for you. So definitely practice. Prepare in advance the technological side of things, prepare in advance the background. Make sure everyone in the house knows as well you're having an interview. Especially if you've got small children in the house, it's a good idea to make that, everyone aware that, look, between this time and this time I've got an interview, I really need quiet. Please can you guys make sure you're not, outside the door making loads of noise, because that's important. You don't want to have the outside world distracting your half an hour or so chance to secure this job. And with all that being said, I really hope you guys have successful interviews. If you're watching this, I'm sure you'll have got an interview coming up, or you might have an interview coming up, and I really hope it goes well. Practice, prepare, take your time, shine, do your best, and if it's meant for you, you'll get the job. Take care, everybody. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, you guys know what to do by now. You gotta hit the thumbs up and you gotta click subscribe for new teacher talk videos every single Tuesday. I'll see you in my next one. Bye, guys.